All right, welcome everybody. My name is Brandon Crumsey, and I am the UGA Extension Clayton County Agriculture Agent. And today we are talking about, a great, awesome subject, basically how to attract pollinators to your landscape. So moving forward, if you have any questions, we're going to answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. So that's when you'll be able to put your question in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves if you would like. So we're going to start off with a quick poll here. So you should see a series of questions on your screen right now. And if you could just answer those for me.
I don't see the poll questions.
Okay, well, we'll go over them in a minute here. All right, the answers are rolling in here. All right, so these are the results. So the first question I asked is, which of these insects are beneficial pollinators? So we have a variety of different answers here. People pretty much put an answer in for everything except mosquitoes. So actually, every single one of these insects are considered beneficial pollinators to our environment. So yeah, mosquitoes, I know they're annoying, and they attack us, especially in the summertime. But they are actually considered pollinator of different flowers, as well as wasps and flies. Um, and I put that question here because when we think of pollinators, a lot of people automatically go to, bees and butterflies, but there are a lot of different things in the environment that benefit from this as well. So then you have about what percentage of our food crops are pollinated by insects. So the right answer is 80%. So that's, almost pretty close to 100%. So just keeping in mind how important these different living things are to our environment, because if we didn't have them, we would definitely be in a crisis for sure. And then the last question I put, would you like to win some pollinator seeds? So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you about a contest that we're going to run after this program, where you're going to have a chance to win some pollinator seeds that you can plant in your landscape. So just make sure you stick around for that. All right. So yeah, again, we're talking about pollinators, right? So why should we even care about attracting these different organisms? So first off, they help preserve native wildflowers in our landscape. They help preserve other plant populations, trees and shrubs. They're, definitely very important to our food system. Like we stated earlier, they help pollinate fruit trees, vegetables. So they're very key parts of um, our experience living on Earth, and helping us to be comfortable in that aspect. So some different challenges that are affecting our pollinators are number one being human development. So I got a picture here of on the left showing some houses being built. So chances are where these houses are now, there's probably, of course, a natural environment there with trees and shrubs and all types of things like that. And all those things provide great habitat for native pollinators. So the second thing is agriculture. So in different agricultural systems, again, you have some development at some point, because just like at one point you see this field here, that was probably once a forest or natural habitat as well. Mowing in regards to, you know, we we really love our lawns, and when you mow your lawn, sometimes you're actually mowing down beneficial flowers and different plants that benefit pollinators, and then of course different chemicals that we use in agriculture like herbicides and pesticides can also affect pollinators. So probably one of the most popular pollinators that we think about is the butterfly, right? So this is just a quick like little life cycle image of how the butterfly moves through its different stages, just to give you an idea of what it goes through and how important the natural environment is. So here's a quick video showing that process. And when you're watching this video, you want to keep in mind that all the different stages of the butterfly essentially are going to use, I guess, benefit differently in a pollinator garden. So, of course, the butterflies, they need a place to lay their eggs. Once the eggs open up, the caterpillar comes out, and caterpillars need certain plants to eat so they can continue to develop. Then they need to find a place to create their chrysalis or the pod, and then that cycle continues. So let's watch this real quick. Yeah, so that's the process a butterfly goes to. So again, I wanted to show you all that so you can see the different stages, and you can see how a pollinator garden, for example, benefits all those stages for its life cycle. So these are the pretty much the bare essentials for attracting pollinators. So you're going to need a sunny place. You're going to need a place, or a water source for them, just like we need water to live, they need water. They're going to need a place for shelter, and of course, you're going to want to have a variety of different plants, not just one type of plant or two types of plants. And then, of course, you want to plan out how your blooms are going to do throughout the year. So not just having things blooming, in the spring and the summer or whatever, but you want to have continual bloom sources. And of course, especially in this area of your landscape, you don't want to use any pesticides or herbicides. So here we have one benefit of having a sunny location. So since butterflies, for example, are cold-blooded, they like to sunbathe to warm themselves up. So an easy way to help them with that is by adding stones or bricks, or having bare patches of ground in your pollinator garden for them to rest on. And that really, helps them out. And then water sources. So this is a really easy water source to have, because, you don't want to have just like a bucket of water in your garden, or, a pool of water or something, because once these insects getting that water, it's very easy for them to drown since there's nothing for them to latch onto. So it's best to get a shallow dish like this and put some rocks in there. You can put some sand in there and then fill it up with water. So that way they can easily, walk on these materials and still get water at the same time and not get stuck in there. And butterflies, especially like this setup because they do something called butterfly puddling. And here's a cool video so you can see that in action as well.
Well, let's say that you have mastered the basics of butterfly gardening. You know that you need to have some plants that will feed the caterpillars, and you know you need to have other plants that have flowers on them that attract mastered the basics of butterfly gardening. You know that you need to have some plants that will feed the caterpillars, and you know you need to have other plants that have flowers on them that attract the adult butterflies. Are there other things that you can do to bring even more butterflies to your landscape? Sure there are. Let's talk about them today, right here in the Children's Garden of the Atlanta Botanical Garden, right next to busy Piedmont Road, as you can hear over to the left here. What we'll provide for the butterflies today is a butterfly puddle. It's really easy to build, and you'll be surprised at how many more butterflies you'll see clustered around it during the day. Basically, all you need is a container to hold some water, and it could be a big clay saucer like this one. You can even find these days inexpensive plastic saucers which mimic the color of the clay very nicely. But anything great big and shallow that will hold water will do just fine for your butterfly puddle. Into the puddle, let's put some sand. We need to put enough sand in here to pretty much fill the whole thing up. And our trowel then can spread it out a little bit. But to this sand, we're not just going to add water. We need to add something else that'll make the butterflies even happier. And that special ingredient is manure. A little bit of composted manure, about 2 tablespoons, added to the sand and stirred and mixed in with it, really brings the butterflies in, because the manure has in it salts, it has proteins, it has minerals, it has things that butterflies find very, very attractive. And they have very few places of getting these salts and minerals other than this butterfly puddle that you build for them. The nectar of flowers doesn't have very many proteins in it. So you're really going to do the butterflies a favor by making a puddle with a little bit of composted manure in it. Now, in the middle, let's sculpt it just a little bit to make a low spot there and pull the sand around the edge. You can see how simple this is. And then we'll add some water to it, easily enough. And when we've added enough water to it, you'll see the water will begin to accumulate right there in the middle, making a little puddle. And during the day, you'll find the butterflies, as they discover it, dozens and dozens of them will come and they'll roost on the edge of the clay pot. They'll walk across the sand with their proboscis into the puddle of water, and they'll be a great addition to your landscape. Now, just like a bird feeder, you have to renew the water every couple of days. When it dries out, put more water in it. But you can do this for about a month before you have to discard that whole sand and manure mixture and renew it with some more stuff in the side of it. So that's one thing that you can do to bring more adult butterflies to your garden. But there's another that I think you'll find a lot of fun as well. And that is to give them something else to eat besides just nectar. Take a small saucer and put in that saucer some fragrant fruit. Now, the fragrant fruit can be banana, apple, orange. I have all of them here today. Take our knife and just slice it into a couple of pieces. And put it into this saucer on the edge of the puddle. Now, we want to let this fruit decompose. It doesn't need to be fresh every day. You don't need to put a new slice of apple out every morning or slice a new banana there, because it's the gases of decomposition, the ethylene gas from the rotting fruit, that actually brings the butterflies in. And again, a lot of fragrance is what we're looking for here, so a couple of sections of orange. We'll put a third in the middle right here. Very, very nice. And the butterflies, again, as they visit your garden, find the fruit. They have something to eat. They also find the water and they have something to drink, and you'll find that butterflies will increase dozens and dozens and dozens more than you're expecting in your normal butterfly garden. But one more thing that a lot of people are tempted to put into their butterfly garden, and that is a butterfly house. Now, I know it's attractive, I know it's cute, I know it's something to talk about, it's a good focal point for your garden, but most butterfly experts agree that a butterfly house really doesn't serve as a hibernation habitat or as a place for the butterflies to overwinter during the wintertime. So if you put one in your garden, again, it's great to look at, great to talk about, makes a nice focal point. But a butterfly house, I believe most of the experts would say, all it is something to look at in your garden. But the butterfly puddle and the butterfly fruit really do a great job to attract these iridescent insects, these jewels of the sky, so that you can enjoy them in your landscape garden.
Yep, so if you're thinking about that, that is how you would make a butterfly puddling pad. But something to be aware of, he talked about adding some food scraps. So, we're in Georgia, so, ants are very common. So that's a very easy way to attract ants as well. But the second thing you can do is you can make a bare spot in the area of your pollinator garden, and you can just wet it with your hose or with a bucket or whatever and make it muddy. And these are two examples of butterflies that really like mud puddles because they can get nutrients from it. So on the left, you have tiger swallowtails and cloudless sulfur butterflies. But overall, this type of setup will benefit many pollinators though. And then shelter, right? So shelter is very important because as we saw with the butterfly life cycle, butterflies need places to lay their eggs. They need places to form that pod that they're in, as well as bees and wasps and all the other pollinators. They need different places to have shelter. So, if your backyard happens to be up against, a forest edge or leaving some grass unmowed, that's a good shelter for pollinators. If you have different perennial flower beds or annual flower beds in your yard, those also serve a purpose. And then if you have, bushes in the front, hedgerows, things like that, all make great habitat for pollinators. And then this one's very interesting. So this is called a bee hotel. So these you would actually make yourself. So basically you just, in this picture, they found some cut up wood and they put it in a house structure and they drilled varying sizes of holes in there. And what these bee hotels do, they are a really attractive habitat for a lot of native bees here in Georgia, because a lot of our native bees are actually solitary bees. So they're not operating in a hive, but they're just looking for places like this to nest and reproduce. So all this bee hotel does, it just mimics the natural habitat. So again, like we talked about earlier, with human development and farming and all that stuff, typically, you might clear some trees or some wood waste, things like that, so you can use that spot, but those things make great habitats for these bees. So here's a cool quick video on how you can make a bee hotel, just to give you a visual of your different options. And with these bee hotels, some of the main bees that would use these hotels are going to include like mason bees, carpenter bees, bees like that, that really need natural wood environments for their habitats. Yeah, so there you have it. And we actually have a great publication on making your own bee hotel. So at the end, I'll provide you with my email address and I can send that to you if you want to try it out to kind of add something different to your pollinator garden. All right, so now we're down to probably the most important part of attracting pollinators, right? You need to have the right plants. So the plants serve two purposes pretty much. They're drawn to these different plants due to the nectar from the flowers. And of course, they need the plants to help reproduce. So plants need to be suitable for egg reproduction as well. So we also talked about you buying a variety of different plants. So of course, all that can add up pretty quickly, right? So here's some different ways you can look out for free plant opportunities. So Arbor Day events, I believe Arbor Day might have passed, but I'm not sure. If your friend or your neighbor has a lot of really attractive plants that you like, maybe you all can share some, swap some. You can check your local garden stores for end of season sales on different plants. Um, if you really see some flowers that you like later in this presentation, you can find some seeds for them. And usually, seeds are pretty much about $5 and under, and you get, usually at least 20, 30 seeds in there. So that's a really cheap way to get some pollinator plants. And of course, check online and then different plant sales around the state. You might catch a deal there. And then before you, run out in excitement and buy all these plants, you want to, of course, know what type of soil you have. So we offer soil testing services here at our office. So if you're interested in soil testing, you can email me at the end of this presentation as well. Of course, you want to know your yard, especially you want to identify, what part of your yard is really sunny, because remember, this garden needs to be in a sunny area. And then understanding overall what the plants need that you're buying. So easiest way to do that is to read the plant label or, read the seed packet and see what those plants need. So luckily for you all, so we have a special pollinator blend that will be available to whoever wins this contest. So this pollinator blend has a lot of awesome pollinator plant seeds in them. So that includes cosmos, coneflowers, coreopsis, liatris, salvia, and rudbeckia. So all those different seeds are in this blend, and all those things are very attractive to pollinators. So this is one of the flowers that's in this packet. This is called a purple coneflower, or some people call it echinacea. So this is a perennial flower. You can see it has, those large centers and the petals that are evenly spaced out, which makes it comfortable, for pollinators to come visit this flower. And these come in a lot of different colors, just in case purple doesn't work for you. Cosmos is one of my favorite flowers. It's an annual. It likes full sun, and cosmos flowers, they grow kind of bushy, and they just produce a ton of flowers up until the frost kills them. And since they produce so many flowers, they produce a ton of seeds in the process. So of course, all those seeds, some are going to get blown away, but a lot of them fall right on the ground where these flowers are. And then by next year, when it starts to warm up, you'll start seeing cosmos flowers pop up again from those old seeds. So these are really easy to grow. Then coreopsis, another great one. Salvia is also self-sowing. Rudbeckia kind of looks like sunflowers, also self-sowing. So you can really pretty much easily multiply your garden, especially when you get a lot of these self-sowing varieties that pretty much plant themselves, for you. Then liatris. And then we have, here's a timeline of different blooming varieties for the year. Because remember earlier, we talked about making sure you have something for your pollinators all year round, right? So, and I can send this list out, of course, at the end of the presentation, but just to point some out, like I have henbit labeled in February. So you all probably seen henbit before. It's a very common lawn weed, and people often try to kill it. It's actually a great pollinator plant. Then in April, springtime, you're looking at fruit trees, of course, as well as in the summertime. So henbit is here at the top, has these little purple flowers. So they probably died by now, possibly, but this is a super common winter weed that's great for pollinators. And again, with the fruit trees in the summer. So then you have other common ones in June. Your crepe myrtles start to flower. Different herbs that you may plant in your garden, mint, basil. Different herbs produce flowers that attract different pollinators. And then in July, of course, very popular pollinator plants, sunflowers, for example, milkweed. And, you can visit sunflower fields. And, if you ever look up close to the sunflower, chances are you'll see some type of bee or butterfly or something on that sunflower because they really love these. Then in the fall, here's some different options for you in the cooler months as well. And then herbs, a lot of times when we think about herbs, right, we're thinking about herbs in a vegetable garden for our purposes, whether we're using them for cooking or fragrance. But also when you let herbs flower, pollinators love flowering herbs, especially basil. If you have a bunch of basil in your garden and you let it flower, you will just attract a ton of pollinators with that. So, and then vegetables, of course, right? So like we said earlier, about 80% of the vegetables that we eat are pollinated by different pollinating insects. So when they flower, they're going to attract these insects as well. And then, well, you might not like this, but of course, when you're growing your vegetable garden, you're going to have different caterpillars that may eat or damage some of your crops, but some of these caterpillars, are going to eventually turn into butterflies. So they could be pollinators in the making, even though it's at the expense of the veggies in your garden. So just keep that in mind. And then here's a short list. This is a really cool list. So this is a short list of specific plants that attract specific types of butterflies. And I can also send out the whole list that I have. So if you like this eastern tiger swallowtail butterfly, here's a picture of the butterfly stage and caterpillar stage. The tulip tree is really attractive to this specific butterfly. Milkweed, really popular for the monarch butterfly as well. Asters, really popular for the pearl crescent butterfly. And then here's a snapshot of the list that I have that shows you the adult version of the butterfly, what its larvae look like, and what specific host plant that it really finds attractive so it can complete its life cycle. So this is just a snapshot, but you can see there's a lot of different options on this list. So if you want to see or increase the chances of seeing something specific in your garden, this list will tell you what type of plants you need to have. And then, of course, here's a list of recommended pollinator plants for the state of Georgia. So here's some pictures of some different things. So you might have seen this in your yard or in your neighbor's yard or on a walk or something. So these are a few snapshots of those things. So on the far left here, we have bee balm, which is very popular and easy to get. So pollinators love that one. And then we have our purple cone flower here on the right that we talked about earlier. And here you have winter honeysuckle. Spring and the summer season, real popular ones are spiderwort, wild indigo. Summer and the fall, you have your bee balm, your mountain mint, and then fall into frost, ironweed, Joe Pye weed, and of course lantana, very popular landscape plant. If you have lantana in your yard and it's blooming, you'll notice, every year it'll definitely have a ton of bees and butterflies that are attracted to it as well. But my top choice personally is the zinnias. So I love zinnias. So this is actually a picture of some zinnias that I planted in my front yard. So these are called Will Rogers zinnias. So they grow pretty large and they produce very large red flowers. And I think they probably grew about 4 feet tall. So I had a whole large patch of these, and I saw butterflies all the time. And I even saw hummingbirds pretty frequently as well, which are also very popular pollinators as well. And then, of course, not only are you attracting pollinators to your landscape and making your landscape look colorful, they also make great cut flowers, right? So these are some cut flowers that I got from those zinnias and some other zinnias I planted. So you can add a pop of color to your home as well. And then another really popular one is called the Mexican sunflower. So these Mexican sunflowers grow pretty large. I think they can get probably about 5 to 6 feet, but they're like a large bush, and they produce, a numerous amount of flowers like these, and pollinators really love the Mexican sunflower as well. So after looking at all those plants, you may be asking, well, where can I get all these plants? So there are different lists that are available that show you native plant nurseries that may have some of these things. So you can contact me and I can send that to you so you can figure out, what you want to do. So in summary, if you want to have a successful pollinator garden, you just have to plan it out basically. So thinking about what's suited best to your yard, what would go best throughout the year. Of course, you want to select the right plants, the right place, and just be aware of pollinator health as far as what you're doing in your landscape. So this is my email, my office number. I'll go back to this if you have questions. So this is the online contest. So tomorrow we are going to start our pollinator seed contest. So you'll be able to win some Will Rogers zinnia seeds. Those are the red zinnias I just showed you. And you're going to win some of our pollinator blend packets as well. So the way to enter in on this contest is you have to follow us on Instagram, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like, share, and comment on the post that I will upload tomorrow morning. And your comment should state why you would like to win these seeds. So, and we'll randomly select the winner from that post by next week. So